Hey guys, welcome to the Primed Fatherhood podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Condi, and this is episode 15. This episode is going to be a little different than previous ones because tonight my wife is having a baby. She's scheduled to be induced just after midnight, and with an event coming up like that, there's bound to be a lot of nerves, a lot of work to do in order to prepare. And I just want to take a minute to talk you through what we've been going through these last 9 months during the pandemic in preparation for having a baby, as well as some of the things that I've done to help us make this work as good as possible. We have answered the call. We are committed to a greater purpose. We are fathers. Past achievements do not guarantee future success. We will prime ourselves often to navigate each new challenge. We are capable, brave, and relentless. We will remain undaunted. All right. There's a lot of content out there for women about pregnancy and about the challenges of it and the stresses that it causes, but there's not a ton out there for men. And I feel like a lot of times people just say, well, suck it up or do your best and just leave it at that. But I think that there's a lot here to talk about, and it's definitely an adventure for both the husband and the wife. And we've been right in it. And, you know, the pregnancy, if all goes well, is 9 months long. And so that's 9 months to second guess everything you're doing, to stress about how the labor and delivery will go. It's 9 months to try and keep everyone healthy and to try and get the house in order. And there's just a lot of desires and needs that you have to take care of in that time as the dad. And that's not to mention all of the extra support that your wife needs during that time when they're feeling sick or when they're struggling with certain ailments or when they're just not feeling beautiful, because that happens as well. So when I look back to our first pregnancy, those 9 months were kind of the hellish boot camp for me that forced me into a corner and really made me get my crap together. My business was struggling. I was struggling personally, and our relationship was struggling. And like I said in the very first episode of this podcast, it was kind of a recipe for disaster. But I leaned into it. I focused myself. I pushed hard with the business. We made some drastic changes, and I made some huge changes personally to become more disciplined, more faithful in my discipleship of Jesus Christ, and more just focused overall. And that was a massive opportunity for me to grow and become better. And now that we're having our second, this past 9 months has been another opportunity to step up my game and to push myself harder and to be better in every aspect. And it's been especially challenging because it was literally the second week of March that we found out we were pregnant. That was also the week that the country declared us officially in a pandemic with COVID-19. And so finding out that you're pregnant right when a pandemic is sweeping the globe is not a comforting thing. It was quite a concerning thing, and we really didn't know how to take it. It did make us be more conservative than we probably would have if we weren't pregnant. But it also had us really leaning on our faith and really just trying to focus on controlling what we could control in our lives, knowing that we couldn't control the pandemic or any of the other crazy things that were going on this year. And one of the things that I've noticed is when we're going through this period of pregnancy, my fatherly instincts and desires seem to just be much more heightened and profound. And that's probably part of the reason that I actually started Primed Fatherhood and put so much time and effort into researching fatherhood and thinking about it and asking people about it, because I wanted to make sure that I could be the dad that could handle 2 kids and 2 jobs and still be able to take care of my wife and still be able to feel like I have some sort of a life. And so I owe this pregnancy a lot, because it really has helped me to hit the next level of my own personal discipline, as well as to hit the next level of my business and my contribution, hopefully, to the world by creating this podcast and helping to broadcast the inspirational stories and tips and things like that I try to bring through Primed Fatherhood. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been our share of fear and struggles and worries. It seems like as soon as we got pregnant, it was like, okay, the whole world is panic shopping. Well, maybe not the whole world, but our corner of the world was panic shopping. And we were trying to control our finances and not go out and spend it all at once. And so that was another weird experience with it. But we have tried to get much more strict and save more money. I didn't race nearly as much this year on the dirt bike because I was trying to save money. And we've sacrificed quite a few other things in order to prepare. And, I think it's all because of that fear or concern of not doing a good enough job, or the fear of having things take a turn towards the worst that would cost us more or take more time from us, or have us be put in a more strained situation than we were, whether it was financially or just mentally or spiritually. And so we've done a lot of preparations this year in order to try to combat that worry and the fear that comes with being pregnant. And I want to share a little bit of those and just kind of share my mindset going into it. Because like I said earlier, we are literally going to the hospital tonight at midnight, and Carla's going to get checked in, and they're going to induce her 1 week before her due date. And the reason that we're doing that is because last time she was a week past her due date, and she's just such a small person that there is complications with the pregnancy or with the delivery because of her size and because the baby had gotten a whole week bigger, which does make a significant difference when someone that small is trying to deliver a baby. So we'll be 2 weeks ahead this time compared to what our last delivery was. And we're hoping that will make the recovery go better. And from the doctor checkups and everything, we know that the baby's healthy enough for us to be induced this way and have it go well. So there is always a chance of something happening, but that's part of the inherent risks of life, really. It's no more risky for us to have a labor and delivery than it is for us to drive down the road in the car. So we're trying to stay positive and focused and do all the things that we can to prepare, compared to just dwelling on the fear or the uncertainty. So, one of the things that I just want to mention is my wife is so incredibly hardworking. I am so proud of her for her ability to work hard, her ability to work as a teacher through her pregnancy and chase all these little kids around and be active and be singing with them and be up and down and moving all around while she's pregnant. And then to come home and have to wrangle our 3-year-old is it's exhausting. And so I am going to be quite relieved when we can finally get this new baby girl out of my wife and give my wife a little bit more comfort and rest as the baby grows and as she heals from this. It really is kind of a traumatic thing, but it's also miraculous in the sense that the healing really can happen so well. And actually, because my wife and I were both focused on it after we had our first daughter, we both lost more weight in the following 6 months after our daughter was born than we had in the 2 years prior to having her. And so we're looking forward to that unity as well, to get back even more fit and be unified in how we're eating and what our goals are for that, because it is harder to be unified that way during the pregnancy. A lot of the preparations that we've made are kind of things that I've already mentioned. As soon as we found out that we were pregnant, we started to save more money, and we tried to focus on that balance in our health savings account. And then we also just tried to be more conservative about where we went and how much money we spent. And being in a pandemic actually made that part easier, because we did have a couple of trips planned that got canceled and we got refunds on. And so that was nice. Another thing that we've tried to do to prepare is to get the house ready. That's pretty normal. The whole nesting thing for women is really instinctual, and I think that's great. The things that I think needed the most attention were our mental and spiritual state. Spiritually, it was a little hard this year because of the pandemic. We didn't have church for a lot of the spring and summer, but into the fall we were able to get back in and lean more heavily on Zoom and other broadcasting technologies. But we tried to always do our family scriptures reading and have gospel discussions and pray a lot in order to stay prepared and feel comforted and feel like we're living our best lives in order to be blessed with a healthy new child. And a big part of that for me, definitely not for Carla while she's pregnant, but for me has been fasting. I've fasted 1 or 2 times a month the whole way through, and I get a really profound sense of calm and direction from doing those fasts tied to prayer and scripture study. And that's something that has really helped me a lot. On the just purely mental side of things, preparation in any form helps me to feel more mentally ready for challenges and things that come up. It's like when I'm racing dirt bikes, knowing that I tightened all my spokes on my wheels, knowing that I went through and tightened the bolts on the suspension, and that I had gone through and cleaned my chain and checked it, and all of those little details are what give me the confidence to go off the jumps and to push the bike to its limits and to push my body to my limits. And so when it comes to this pregnancy, there's been a lot of little things that I've tried to do mentally to help me to stay calm and focused, and to stay focused on the things that I can affect, rather than to let myself worry about a lot of the external factors that are totally out of my control. And so there's been a lot of little things that I've done. Meditation has been a really good one. I try to spend about 10 minutes every morning doing breathing focused meditation, and that helps so much for me to just keep a clear head and to put things into perspective. And then when I combine that with exercise, which I try to do every single morning, those two things really help me to handle stress and stay more calm. But there's been one other thing that I've done that I want to share, that I hope will help others who are in the same situation, in order to just stay focused and be inspired about the role of fatherhood. And the thing that I'm talking about is a manifesto that I've written. I can't say that I came up with the idea on my own, or that I even came up with all the actual sentiments within it, because I didn't. When I was serving an LDS mission in North Carolina, it's a 2-year commitment, and you go there and you have very limited contact with family and friends, and you're just there to focus and serve the people wherever you get sent. You don't choose where you go. And that was a hard thing for me. It was not too hard to be away from home, or not too hard to be sharing the gospel. The thing that was hard was just putting off all of my desires and the things that I enjoyed, and being in control of my time, in order to just be serving other people. I'm naturally a selfish person, and I just like to do things that I like once in a while, and so that part was hard. But I found this story of this man in Africa who had become a Christian, and his village or town was telling him that he had to renounce his faith in Jesus Christ, or he would be put to death. And while he was in prison, he wrote what is called the Fellowship of the Unashamed. And it was his manifesto stating how focused he was on living the life that Jesus Christ has asked us to live, that he wrote it and he put it out there, and he was eventually killed as a martyr for it. But that little one-page document called The Fellowship of the Unashamed inspired me so much on my mission. It gave me so much strength. There was this kind of edge and attitude about it that made it seem so real and purposeful, but it was also short and powerful, and I memorized it, and I would say it in my head often while I was walking, struggling to know what to do, or feeling sorry for myself, or when I was in a hard situation, certain lines would come up, and it would inspire me to push harder and to do a better job. And as I thought about that over the last 9 months, I've kind of pieced together my own manifesto that's kind of a mirror of what he had written. And I did it because I feel like the role of fatherhood is every bit as noble as what that African man was displaying to his community about his belief in Jesus Christ. And I wrote this over a long period of time. I've revised it over and over, but I have kind of memorized it and repeated it to myself in the mornings in order to help me to stay focused on this noble and honorable role of being a dad. And so I'd like to share with you my little manifesto that I've come up with. So as a little bit of a background for why I'm putting the time into primed fatherhood and why I wrote this little manifesto is I feel like a lot of our nation's issues could be solved if fathers were more present and engaged and educated and focused on being better people, and if they were passing that on to their families. And this is supported by a lot of different studies, and even the last U.S. Census, it was something like 71% of Americans believed that the lack of fathers in homes was our greatest social challenge. And so when I think of that, and I think of how many men don't answer the call to be a father when they have that pivotal moment in their life where they see, okay, I'm going to be a dad. What am I going to do about it? Most of them in the country at this point are tempted to shirk that responsibility, or they do just run from it. And so for those men who haven't run from it, I commend you, and I am grateful for you, and I'm grateful to stand with you. And so when I was writing this little manifesto, the word that kept coming to me over and over was undaunted. The men who stand up and push themselves to become better fathers are undaunted, because the role of fatherhood is huge, and it is ominous, and it's scary, and there's a lot of unknowns, and it's taxing, and it takes a lot of your money and your time and your abilities. And so from the outside looking in, it is a daunting thing. And for those who take it on and give themselves to something much greater than their own life, I am so proud and grateful for you who have done that. And for those who are on the fence, I would hope that this little manifesto can help them to see what it takes, and to see that you don't have to be a perfect man to do this. There's no chance of you being perfect or being a perfect father right from the get-go. And that perfectionism, I think, is something that scares people off. But the goal is to get in there and do your best and not worry about how perfect you are, but know that you can become better as you go. So I named this manifesto The League of the Undaunted. And even though I have it memorized, I feel like I should read it so that I don't mess it up. I am part of the League of the Undaunted. A new fate has been forged. I have stepped over the line. I have answered the call. I am a father. I won't look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is behind me. My present has purpose. My future is filled with glory. I'm finished with selfish spending, lazy living, poor planning, weak working, and corrupt conduct. I no longer have to be right, first, recognized, praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now listen with care, teach with patience, labor with purpose, and strive for self-control. My mission is clear. My focus is family. My lifeblood is love. I will continually strengthen, restrain, teach, and give myself to be prepared in this noble role. I won't give up, shut up, or let up until I've stayed up, stored up, and paid up for the lives of my family. I will lead whether or not they listen. I will protect whether or not they ask for it. I will provide whether or not they want me. I will remain undaunted. I am a father, and when my children are grown, they will know that I gave everything, met every challenge, and taught all I knew. So that's the League of the Undaunted. It's my manifesto that I wrote to help me to stay focused on the things that are most important in being a good dad. And I truly feel that if I do these things and I remind myself of how important this role really is, that I will be able to fill the giant shoes of the great fathers of history and the great fathers of my life. My grandpas, my dad, my father-in-law. I have so many great examples around me and very big shoes to fill. And so that was why I wrote this, was because I felt like I needed something short and powerful that I could recall quickly in trying times, or that I could do as an affirmation in the mornings to help me to be more focused throughout the day on what truly matters. And so that was one of the things that I did in mental preparation for the arrival of this new baby. And I just felt like I should share this today, even though it's pretty personal and it could be still revised. I feel like it's still a little rough. But I felt like I should share it because knowing that we're having a baby tonight means that our emotions and nerves are high, and we just really don't know what's going to happen. But I do just feel like it's worth sharing these different nerves and sharing kind of how I'm dealing with it, so that if others come along and find this, they can take part in it. And so that's really all I wanted to say for today, is just to share how I'm preparing for it, and to share that I really am, even though we're nervous and hoping that everything goes well, we are really excited to have another daughter and to be able to continue the growth of our family, and really grateful and feeling very blessed that we made it through the pandemic in good health and able to retain our jobs and things like that. And so I just have so many emotions and thoughts going through my head today that I felt like I had to share something. So thank you for listening today. I will definitely share on this podcast how the labor and delivery goes for us. It's not my favorite thing to talk about, but it's part of being a dad, so I want to cover that. And I definitely want to share you what I've learned. As always, that's what I live to do, is to learn and to share what I'm learning. So I would also love to hear how you have prepared for labor and delivery, how you've helped your wife through pregnancies, and what you've learned about yourself and about your wife through these experiences. I think the best place to share that would be the Primed Fatherhood Facebook group. It's a private group, but if you click join, I'd be happy to let you in and have you add to this conversation of how to mentally prepare for having a new child. So I think we'll leave it at that. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this podcast. Please rate it and subscribe wherever you're listening. And remember to stay primed.